what we mean by innovation and innovation management. The idea is basically that if you look at the evidence, particularly the evidence from commercial organisations, basically companies, is that companies at the very least who consistently innovate, and we'll talk about how that might happen, outperform those that do not. Now there's lots of fuzziness around that statement. Yeah, it depends on the sector, the country, size of organisation, and we'll cover all that throughout the module. But generally speaking, there is strong evidence that there is a relationship between innovation and performance, at least for commercial entities. It gets less clear when we start to look at social innovation, which we'll do later in the module. Okay? The second paragraph there is saying, however, it's this sort of caveat or footnote. And the however is, it's not just about good management. Okay, if you do a bachelor's in business and management, and many of you have, okay, you'll cover all the core subjects, you know, OB, marketing, finance, accounting, that's all great stuff. But very rarely, occasionally you might do a little bit in OB or something like that about innovation or change, but generally it's not a core topic. And there's a reason for that, because most management and most business management is about managing equilibrium, or at least managing administration. Okay? And it doesn't like uncertainty. In this particular model, it's almost the polar opposite. Okay, we deal with a lot of uncertainty, and we'll start to identify the types and also the sources of uncertainty as we go through the module, and how we might either manage or mitigate that uncertainty. So what we're saying is that the standard sort of toolkit that you get from management, either by training or by experience, doesn't equip you very well for managing innovation, because it's different and it's rare. Okay, so it's not just a function of experience, and it's not just a function of how many management tools you happen to have been exposed to. So we're going to look at, if you like, a body of evidence and practice which is specific to managing uncertainty and managing innovation. Okay, so we're not claiming any universal things here, but basically it's different, but it's important because there is this sort of correlation with outperformance. And we'll look at some of the evidence later. Okay. We're not going to get too pedantic, hopefully, at least today, and with loads of definitions. You can look them up. And these aren't definitions. These are a couple of quotes from well-known sort of management gurus who you're probably familiar with, or you will be familiar with very soon. Michael Porter, I think he's still at Harvard, but he's been all over the place. Idea here, a nice quote, is it's more than just about technology. Okay, and as we go through, particularly today, we'll try to expand our definitions of what innovation is, expand the scope of managing innovation, because that's really, really important. You know, if you come from a sort of science or technology background, you tend to think in terms of technology. If you come from a sort of more business and management, you tend to think in terms of, you know, marketing and new products. Okay, and these are all partially correct, but only partially correct. So what we're trying to do is try to integrate these in some sort of systematic way. That's the plan. So it's more than simply technology. And that's coming from Michael Porter, who used to be an aeronautics engineer before he became a sort of management professor at Harvard. Second quote, I don't think we have too many more, maybe one more in the whole session. Peter Drucker, ex-Peter Drucker, died a few years ago, but another nice quote in the sense that it's also about new business creation and about differentiation. A lot of the things we'll talk about on the module today and from now on is about, if you like, avoiding direct competition. So it's about, if you like, sidestepping. It's about being different. So it's not necessarily differentiation in the very narrow sense in marketing, about making your product a bit different. It could be that. But it's a much broader sense, making your service offering, your business, okay, different. So you try to avoid direct competition, because if you look at the evidence, all that does is drive down prices, which drives down surpluses, which drives down the amount you can reinvest in innovation. So you just end up with price-based competition, which is not a great place for innovation if you look at those sorts of markets. Okay. And the second thing that Peter Drucker adds, which I think is important for today, after sort of 80 years of experience in the business, is that there is a body of knowledge here. There's things that we can learn that aren't necessarily experiential. You don't have to work for 50 years to pick this up. And in fact, working for 50 years, unless you're exposed to innovation, isn't going to help either. But there is a body of knowledge, which is partly academic research, as we'll see, but it's also partly trying to understand how certain organisations outperform others consistently across time, okay, which is slightly more pragmatic and anecdotal. Okay, so there is a body of knowledge out there, and we can begin to learn from that okay, and then apply that in some sort of systematic way. So you're getting the idea, it's more than simply technology. In terms of how we're going to run the module, as I said, the lectures, we have one a week in this session, about 90 minutes without a break. I'll hang around for those who just come in late. I'll hang around for about 15-20 minutes after each session, if time allows, for any individual or group questions that you might have, which are about the module, not about all the administrative things that are going to go horribly wrong over the next 13 weeks, okay? Because I don't have any control over that. So any academic things, particularly on this module, then I'll hang around, and each time we can have a chat about that. We currently are timetabling. It's pretty fluid this week. This is week 1, if you haven't figured it out. Last week was week 0, and next week, week 2. You can get a sequence. But it's not until the end of week 2 that things stabilise. People get visas, get money, don't get visas, don't get money, and we sort of know what the numbers look like, and then we can sort of firm up all the seminar groups. At the moment, they're pretty fluid. I think we have 5 or 6 seminar groups scattered across the week, which appear in your timetables and in ours. They may move at the margin, depending on how many more students register between now and next week. So bear with us in the first 2 weeks. There are no seminars this week, whatever Sussex Direct tells you. Okay, there are rooms booked, so if you want to sit in an empty room this week, by all means, it's booked, paid for. Okay, but we have no seminars scheduled for this week 1. They start in week 2. Okay. And the seminars vary slightly, depending on who's running them and what the topic is, but generally they're much more interactive. I mean, we'll try to get some sort of discussion, debate going, but it's quite difficult because it's quite a large group here, and you guys are all sort of higher than I am, which is sort of difficult to interact sometimes. Seminar groups vary, sort of 20, 25 maximum, and on a good day maybe 15 of those turn up. So they're quite intimate in that sense. So we're expecting in those groups for you to come prepared and to interact, okay? So they're not mini lectures. And they'll be clear from the study direct what is expected of you week by week, okay? So they're interactive. Sometimes we talk about a method or a tool. Sometimes we interrogate a case study. Sometimes we discuss a reading. There's a variety throughout the teaching block, okay? And have a look on study direct for those. In terms of the readings, and the case studies and the tools and such like, they're either on Study Direct, the module site, or there are links to those materials, okay? So if in doubt for the module, go to the Study Direct site. They'll either be the materials themselves, if licensing allows, or a link to them, okay? So that's the first place to go for the academic stuff. Okay, and hopefully that's all working. We checked all the links a week ago, but things do break. So if something doesn't work, or something isn't clear, or you have a question that's an academic question, post it on the forum that is on Study Direct. Yeah, so unless it's a very personal thing, in which case you want to email and make an appointment,